recordings of either of my tours. I tested it again this morning. It was working fine. I was very disappointed to not have any thermal imaging to give back to my folks. So fingers crossed, it does not do the same thing it did to my folks last night. So it is going to record, which means you guys are going to get the recording back. So let me go through the quick demonstration so you guys can kind of see what we're looking at on this guy. So everything is in a different color based on heat signature. Okay, so you should see me in there, orange, red, and yellow. All right, I should be pretty clear on what I am in there. Everything around me should be blue and black, which means those are our colder areas, because my skin temperature is the warmest thing inside the screen. When you take me out of it, it's going to fluctuate. Now you're going to have orange, red, and yellow elsewhere. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Skin temperature here, especially on a chilly night like this, we're running around 62 to 65 degrees based on the wind chill. Our skin temperature is obviously going to be 97 to 99 degrees. It better not be higher than that, COVID people. So, just making sure everybody's paying attention. So, with that being said, who is really interested in this guy? I got something special for you. Dad, what do you think? Okay. Think you can handle that? Yep. It's already recording. Mm-hmm. So all you have to do is hold it horizontal all night long. The camera is right here, so don't put your fingers here. Okay. And then the orange square, red square that you see on your screen, that means that it's recording. If it turns to a circle, let me know. We'll splice your video together and we'll take it from there.
Okay, so the little blue thing is the camera?
No, that blue thing is charging the camera. That's just a battery.
Which one's the camera?
It is right there.
Just like a normal phone.
Right. I think we need to get him squared away. Is everybody cool with that? Because he's got a lot of questions. So we're going to give you something. So you are going to be the first person to let us know if something's happening. Okay? I got a special job for you. Normally my people that are a little leery about what's about to happen, I get them squared away. So EMF meters. You guys have seen these on your TV shows. I'm going to explain it. So just pay attention. So this is going to be your job. They measure 3 different types of electromagnetic fields. They never explain them on TV. The first one's natural, comes from the earth. That's why it's not doing anything. The next one's going to be electronic devices. Parking meters, cell phones, electrical wires. It's going to make it go into a pulse or a rhythm. And we're going to help you, so you don't have to interpret it every time. The other thing is going to be unexplainable things, which is where it's going to go erratic. Okay? So when it goes nuts, that's all you got to do is speak up. It doesn't make any noise, and it doesn't vibrate. Yes?
One time I saw one of these videos like this, because they kind of use that drug.
They use these all the time.
So what is it going to do? Halloween now?
So basically, ghosts are made out of electromagnetic fields.
Okay.
They can interrupt it. So when this thing deters, detects that there's going to be a lot of activity around it, it's going to light up all over the place.
Oh, so it'll be a visual.
Yes.
Okay, I was confused about it.
If the lights go crazy, then you need to tell us.
Okay.
Which one's the button?
There are no buttons.
Just leave
All you gotta
it.
do is
Just hold it.
All you gotta do. I make things nice and simple.
Yeah.
I don't. You turn it off? You just click the button.
Okay.
It's okay. It's only one button. It's fine. All right. Emily and Addie. Alan. Got it. Spirit boxes. Let's go through spirit boxes. There are several different types of spirit boxes we're going to be using tonight. The first one is going to well, let me first explain what a spirit box is. It allows us to communicate with the dead. Okay? It sweeps through FM radio stations at a very quick rate. On your TV shows, it's the white static noise that they hear, and then Zach Bagans tells you what he thinks he heard in the middle of it. This one is slowed down on purpose. I want the radio chatter. The DJs, the song lyrics, the commercials, anything that you can make out, it's a 50-50 shot that it's a piece of communication we were supposed to hear. Anybody see the movie Transformers?
I did.
Okay, so Bumblebee talks through the radio, correct? It's the same principle. We're not just listening for that, there could be disembodied voices too. They're very rare. We don't get a whole lot of them on this tour, but when we do, they're very significant. I just caught one last week. I'm pretty excited about it. So, I'm going to set this up to record. The really cool thing about this one is you guys are going to get the recording back, and it doesn't record us, no outside noise, and it also records when it's on mute. So even when I'm telling stories or explaining things and you guys have the volume down, it's already recording. So super cool device. This is probably my favorite tool. So we're going to go with you. You seem like you got your eyes plugged out like plates. So let's see here. What do you want to know what's next? You look a little bored.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get you squared away. You're going to be using another type of spirit box. Charged. So, this one is a phone app. Now, I'm going to explain this one because this one doesn't always go give us positive things, meaning it's not always evidence. So let me explain how this one works. As soon as it starts up. Alright, so this one is going to give us a word in the center of the screen from time to time. The cool thing is that it's going to save all those words to a list. My last group last night, that's not right because I left it running. They had about 75 words, which is really heavy. I usually get about an average of 55. So we're going to clear them out and give you guys a fresh start. 80% of what comes out of this thing doesn't mean anything. It's the other 5 to 20 where I'm like, that means this because. I will give you the full list tomorrow morning. I will put the words in bold that actually mean something to where we were, something happening with us, whatever. But I'll also give you a link verifying why that word was relevant in that location. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do anything besides watch it. I know, I make it nice and simple, right, Dad?
Yeah.
The least amount of responsibility goes to this one. Do not want to be responsible for anything.
All right, so I have... So who do we have left? The two of you and you. All right.
Yeah, the way you run together. What is that, like a flashlight? That's like a flashlight something?
Do I have a flashlight?
No, that's like a flashlight.
Well,
You have a lot of questions.
let him explain it first.
Google must be your best friend.
Yep, Siri. It is.
Siri? All right. It's the neuralizer for Men in Black. I need you all to stare right there. Sorry, I'm a movie guy. I reference movies all the time. It's really a grid pen.
Oh.
So what does a grid pen do? You can all see the dots on the ground, and you can't see what's in between the pen and the ground until something passes through it. So really what we're looking for here are things to go super quick. Lasers get Nick in a lot of trouble. I normally hand this to adults, but I think you can handle it. So I don't know how old you are. I'm sorry, I'm assuming.
23.
Oh, you're perfectly fine. So let me put this in perspective for you. These can put Nick in jail. Like if they're faced up, if they're in traffic, I will definitely give you direction on where we're allowed to use lasers. Is that fair? So again, really what we're looking for is something to pass through it pretty quickly, and that is number one for you. The second one that I use with this is it's a little different than that one. This guy gives us red squares. So why are red squares important? So in the event we actually capture a picture or film where something passes through this, it has squares, which means I can put it in 3D software and give you guys a full view of the apparition that we caught. Both lasers go in the same pair of hands, so I know where they're at. Going across the streets. So you will get dizzy by, yeah, you guys got my Ghostbuster joke. So basically, yeah, oh, you're already flashing it up. So really, when you're using both of them at the same time, they're going to be kind of separated so that way they're always going to stay pointed down. So just kind of be mindful of where the lasers are pointed. Perfect.
So wait, are those lasers going to be on the whole time?
No, those lasers cannot be on the whole time. Let's see here. So I normally don't, like this is a weird separation of the dynamic. So Mom, you're going to be, definitely don't give this to teenagers because they don't know what it is.
Camera.
That's a fake one.
Johnny, quiet.
Not a fake one.
It's not a big one. It's just a camera by itself. That's all it does. So literally what you're going to be doing, Allie, please point one of your lasers down. You're going to be taking pictures of Allie's lasers like this, through them, not on top of them, like pointing down. You want to go through them because, and it also doesn't have any flash, so don't worry that the picture's not being taken, unless of course you can't see anything on your screen. You just got to turn it back on.
Okay.
But the reason why is because you're going to be looking for those things that she's going to be missing in real time. This is going to be quick. No ghost is going to hang out in the middle of the grid and say, hey, I'm right here. So you're going to take hundreds of pictures. I don't care how many. You're going to get all the pictures back. So if I find something cool,
Finger on the trigger as soon as I'm told.
well, as soon as, I mean,
As soon as you turn around,
yeah.
no?
Oh, as soon as you turn it
Yeah,
on,
so
finger
like
on
when
the
we, so the places that we're gonna go, guys, just so you guys know, is there's a little bit of a separation, so you guys can kind of work in teams and work the area. So it's not gonna be like we're all hanging out together like this,
Okay.
and it's gonna be a little bit of a separation. So
Like Jim
last but not least, you're gonna be hanging out with Dad.
Yay.
And here's the reason why.
Alright,
This is
so-
another spirit box. It works the exact same way that hers does, Emily's, but it does not record. So I want you hanging out with Dad because his records audio in real time. So in case you hear something, Dad can help you listen for it, and therefore we can catch it in real time. How cool is that?
Okay.
So again, I need the song lyrics, the DJs, the commercials, whatever you hear coming through there, I need to know what it is.
So whatever like music like that you guys will shoot or like
Whatever you hear. Don't pay attention to that.
Okay.
Whatever you're hearing.
I sounds good enough.
Yep. So, the volume for you is on the side of the speaker, right below the red line. You hold it down to turn the volume down, and then you hold it up to turn the volume up. Very simple. Obviously, when I'm telling stories and explaining things, you want to keep the volume down, so I'm not shouting over top of it. So that's going to go to you.
So alright.
Go ahead and give it a try so you can get used to that button.
Up,
You got to hold
down,
it. Hold it.
left, right. No, I got that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no Xbox code in there. So
Or contra.
Up, down, left, right.
yeah, I
left.
know Contra. I didn't know
Yeah.
if he would get the
Select,
reference.
start.
Giving away my age now, Dad. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so
So wait, is there a record button? No, right?
It does not
I just
record.
turn up volume.
That's it, and you're gonna listen. I'm gonna teach you guys more about your spirit boxes in our first location. The first location, guys, is haunted. Just doesn't have a deep history, so it's a really good spot for me to bounce around with all of you, kind of give you different tactics, teach you more about your devices. But let's talk about the building you guys are leaned on first, because it's haunted. That's why we started here. So, this place used to be called Big John's. None of you are from here, so I can lie to you guys all night long, which is great. But Big John, Big John was a football player for the 1947 Giants. He used to sit in the back of the bar and tell the bartender if the cadets that came over from the Citadel, if they were of age or not. One night, two guys came in, they're not old enough to drink. John tells them to get out. So they leave, pretty mad. They come back the next night and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's happening. They start fist fighting on the floor. A couple of shots were fired and John gets shot in the neck. The bullet ricochets and lands in the wall.
Did he die?
Not done. So, he gets up after finished beating up the guys on the floor and he goes back to the bar and he tells the bartender, get me a beer and go get them an ambulance. Nobody died in that story. So what's haunting this place? Anybody want to guess? The bullet hole. Right. The bullet hole is still here, allegedly. They're doing renovations, so I'll have to verify that once they're done. But people that tend to sit in front of this bar get a little headache, can be a little queasy, and sadly enough, that's the only place I've ever gotten EMF from. So, just an interesting story. Another reason why we started here. So, paranormal activity can cause those kind of odd symptoms. So, just kind of keep
Okay,
that in
I'm
mind.
hearing like just like 1 second of a, like every couple of seconds I hear like a little, I don't know. I'm listening
And
to just a
that's
little.
why it's sweeping through all the FM stations. You're listening for those little things that you can actually make out. So we'll be in an area where you can turn it up a little bit louder soon enough to where you can actually listen better.
Okay.
So the other story here, guys. Sorry, it's a Saturday
Am I
night.
supposed to be listening?
Not right now.
All right. Just turn it down.
Yeah, you're good. Listen to the story then.
So we had a big earthquake here in 1886. Allegedly, this is where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The mantle that's above your heads also goes around the front of the building, and a piece of that mantle from the earthquake fell and struck somebody in the head and killed them. I don't have any verifiable proof, just another story so that we can kind of get this storytelling all along. So, are you guys all ready to go ghost hunting? Emily's backing up.
I don't want to get hit on the head.
We're not gonna, there's no earthquake going on, we're fine. So I told the story twice tonight. Remember that. I'm good to go. All right, you guys ready to go ghost hunting?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go this way.
What happens this
When you see it all lined up with colors, then you gotta tell Mr. Nick.
what happens
I swear, if we get like some tremor and one of those things hits me on the head, I'm coming back. I'm punching it. How's this for evidence?
I get a little nervous. Oh.
This is when you gotta speak up and let me know what's going on. So let's come over here and we'll talk about that craziness.
More colors right there, Chavi. Right there in the corner,
It's like
So
a
many
rainbow.
colors.
Alright, so the EMF meter is already going off, and I will tell you guys that I don't get excited with just one device. So what happens when I start going through all of your devices in the morning is I look for, like, our EMF went off during this location, so I'm going to start poking around on all the other recordings to see what happened and hopefully get something else. This is what I call the big red barn lot. Okay, so this is where we keep the horses for the carriage rides. Okay, so they are inside, they can hear us. Absolutely no lasers on the building, so only one of you has lasers, so I kept the other one in my pocket. I do have thermometers to prove or debunk what's going on with that camera. So again, remember, I'm set up for 10 people. I kind of didn't bring everything out. So with that said, let's see, where was I? So no lasers. Spirit boxes, the ones that actually have volume, not the one with digital word list. Keep your volumes just level to you and the other person that you're working with. We don't want to spook the horses. The history here is very short. This is the same barn where we kept horses that delivered milk to Charleston. Whenever I'm telling you the history of a building, I'll emphasize keywords for your spirit box purposes. So, spirit boxes, let's go into those. This is not TV. What is that chirping? Is that something above me?
Coming from there.
I don't know. So anyway, this is not is somebody here. There's a yes or no question. First off, if somebody says no, that means they're still here. Okay, it's still a direct answer. But you guys might hear a real estate commercial, and the word houses is in there. You think you heard yes. Trying to entertain people over here. So we're going to stay away from yes or no questions altogether. So the two of you that actually have spirit boxes, you're not going to be asking questions that are yes or no. We're going to start you guys off with something simple. I want you to treat this whole tour as if it was you're a beginner ghost hunter now. By the end, you're going to know a whole lot more and do the stuff on your own. So this is the beginning. I'm going to give you suggestive thoughts. Give me 1 second. So we all know that the barn is red. Is that agreed? All right?
Yep.
Sorry if somebody's colorblind, but it's red. Tell them. So it's not blue, red, or blue, orange, or purple. You're going to ask what color is that barn. This is all about putting clues together. You might hear the word red directly, but you might also hear something that is red specifically, like a fire truck or fire itself. You might hear something that is only red, rose. Okay? Those kind of mentality. In the event you don't get an answer after 2, 3, maybe 4 tries of asking the same question over and over and over again, you're going to open it up. What's inside the barn? You got horses. They're draft horses. That's their breed, so you can hear the word draft. Hay belongs to horses. We talked about the delivery of milk to Charleston, which they also delivered eggs. So you might hear calcium and protein, things that are related to that. This is about putting those clues together. This isn't always going to be a, hey, my name's Bob, and I used to be a carriage driver. Like, you're not going to get a conversation. They're giving you what they can find between your radio signals and whatever they want to generate on your spirit box. Now, Javi's EMF, that's a great tool for any spirit. Well, actually, probably a great tool for you to follow because he's going to be helping out Dad, and you're just going to be kind of taking pictures all over. So hopefully, particularly through the, I don't normally split that. I'm sorry if it makes anybody uncomfortable. But, so, spirit box folks, I do want to work with the thermal imaging camera specifically, so I'm going to go over more things with you.
Okay.
But the rest of you can pretty much, lasers also, heat of warning, will set off a car alarm. They're that strong. So keep them off the vehicles and off of this barn. The next, I'll definitely give you specific direction just to keep my butt in check. So, but yeah, definitely turn your spirit boxes up here. Don't get too loud when you're close to the barn. Ask questions. Have fun with it. I'm trying to think. I think we got just about everybody covered except for Dad. But I'm going to be working with him, and you guys can watch that video later and hear what I'm telling him because it's very scientific stuff, and we're going to kind of go into a little bit more detail. So stay within the confines of the lot and go see what you guys can discover.
Who should he be?
Please, I want to be.
So honestly, he should be teamed up with him.
Okay.
Oh, you should read.
Okay, we got this.
So you guys go stick together. Go turn up your spirit boxes. The louder spirit boxes, you could probably turn yours up louder than that. I'm sorry, I should show you that. Oh, what a jerk I am. There's a little wheel at the top. There's a button. Stay away from the button that turns it off. But the wheel will turn it up. Use the full volume. Same thing on yours. You can turn it up a little bit. Just make sure you're not too loud for those forces. No noise.
Is this the volume that you wanted at?
I can't hear it over here. You can probably turn it up a little bit louder. Perfect. If you want to turn it up a little bit more as you guys kind of explore the lot, that's perfectly fine too.
Just hanging around right here.
Yeah, if you guys want to hang out right here, I'm going to pull Dad off to the side so I can show him more about the thermal imaging. All right, so go ahead and point your camera directly at this wall and kind of give me a gist of what you're seeing there. Mainly one color, right?
Yes.
So remember I talked about our skin tone?
Mm-hmm.
Watch what happens when I get in. See how everything over here kind of changed color? And now I'm the red and blue, or the red and yellows. And then the wall should be more of a blue.
Yes.
Okay, so that's, you want to try to, we have enough people in our party to try to keep a person in view at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Because what that does is it's going to be able to show me the different fluctuation of colors. So in the event something cold, like a cold spot, is going to move intelligently on its own,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to see a lot better if you have an array of colors all over. So
Okay.
to give you the gist of that, I do have a video that I caught something with that camera.
Oh, really?
Let me just bring it up, just takes a second. It doesn't stay on that page. I've tried, like, I just need to set this up for my next group, and it just still starts Facebook from scratch. So this is a video of our next location that we're going to go to, and it kind of shows you why skin tone is so important. Sorry, I do a lot of social media. So this is a wall, this orange, and you're going to see two heads right above the wall. Do you see them?
Okay. Yes.
Those people are walking on the other side. They're
Oh, okay.
okay,
Yeah.
they're alive.
This is another person, right?
Oh yeah, these are all people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's obviously a motorcycle right there that's been sitting there a while, but
Okay.
you know, I just like to point out that there's two living people walking past, and then we're going to fast forward, and there's going to be two dead people right there. Missed them. Go on a little bit. So right up there, boom, boom.
Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
No, perfectly fine. This person right here was always in view. If he wasn't, I wouldn't have been able to catch the two dead people walking by. Now I've sent that video over to firemen and mechanics and all kinds of people that have, you know, that work with this particular tool.
Mhm.
They can't debunk it either. So it's not a car. It's not. It's literally two dead people
Oh,
going
really?
past
Kind
them.
of the spirit of God. So.
Yeah, like I mean, we've gone through it frame by frame, trying to figure
Now
it out.
give me the goosebumps. Now I'm cold.
Now you're cold, of course. So, let me show you something about your script real quick. So are you seeing words obviously come up?
Yeah, I saw a couple words show up as you were talking.
Okay. So if you want to see what the list looks like, yep, hit that guy. Never hit the red dots, like hit the red X's, but don't hit clear. And that way you can kind of go
We hit.
off. So let me see anything that's relevant. No. Nothing's relevant to Big John. I don't see anything dying, possibly.
I mean, malicious intentional.
Yeah, maybe this app is messing with air people. That's-
What color is the barn?
Red, dumbass.
Oh, you're
Or maybe another story I didn't talk about. I know a lot of stories. And it happens often. Oh, that's Zoe and Elizabeth. They were sisters. They lived here. You know, and I'll have the name Zoe and Elizabeth in the list. So again, I'll check up with you periodically. But it's a simple tool. But I mean, it really, you should be asking questions out loud. Hey, your color's that far.
What is inside the barn?
It's the same sort of mentality.
Okay, I thought you were telling them to do it. But I just took the word. What is inside the barn?
I would take that.
What?
He said, what is inside the barn? And he heard the word drugs.
No, it was. Obviously, it wasn't the word, but I just went drugs.
All
What are
like
you
that.
doing on yours here?
I haven't got. Well, I can't really.
I think I had it at the slowest setting too, so that way it's too slow. Yeah, it's at the slowest setting. So even if you just kind of stay relatively close together, that way his audio, the video will record what you're listening to. You see what I'm saying? That's why I kind of paired you up with things. How are things going with you? Seeing anything crazy yet? Yep, and it's going to be fast.
What is inside the barn?
No, you take pictures because we're taking pictures of the things that we missed. Because it's literally not going to say right here. It's going to be super quick.
What is inside the barn?
We'll be able to verify what you're missing. So let me show you some evidence of what comes out of these particular. Just so you can
What color is the barn? What animal is inside the barn? What animal is inside the barn?
Sometimes it looks like that, but it's really just the plant part of the plant. And again, I don't want them down, I want them through. I don't care how rough they are.
Okay.
I'm going to lighten them up if I see anything. This one was interesting too because the red doesn't always show up in the camera. So the fact that I had that much in a weird patchy area was kind of interesting. This was another weird red patch. And it's not so much the grid itself, but the fuzziness around it.
Farms.
Again, it's not
You heard
always
farms.
floaty, but you kind of get the gist of what I'm
She's
looking
at the radio station.
Oh.
Okay,
and you can actually help her with the steer box. So you're kind of the middleman going back and forth. That way she can take pictures because there's not always going to be places for laser for that. But there are places where I'm asking for pictures.
What is the barn made out of?
Decipher and verify that you put that.
I know, but it sounded like something kind of.
What is the barn made out of?
Hey, watch the video. Oh, watch the video. Okay. And the great thing about yours is that it's recording. So we'll be able to hopefully find it in the morning. And again, I don't go through the whole thing. So I kind of go in hot spots. If I hear it, great. I write it down and send it back to you. If not, you guys got to find it back again on your own. And that's kind of how this rolls. I don't have, I do 2 tours a night. Like, that's a lot of data. So.
What are some more questions I could ask? Because I've been asking what color and what is inside the barn.
No answers.
No, not really anything
That you can make out. Okay, and that's perfectly fine. So does everybody kind of have the gist of how their devices work now? So that's a lot of activity going on around you, my man. Like, that thing doesn't always do that here. So that's exciting because it's not always going to be doing that throughout the
So
whole.
wait, what's the history?
That's it. It just held horses that delivers milk.
Yeah.
It could
So
be a
a
stable boy
question
telling
could have
us.
been something about
It could be one of Big John's, teammates coming through. It had not happened before, so numbers don't normally lie. So if I get like Frank's 67 out of a couple of different steer boxes, and Frank's jersey number was 67, I can prove that. See how I don't get excited with one thing? So that's kind of how I do that. You guys ready to learn some real history now?
Yep.
All right. We're gonna go this way. fly in here. So let's go ahead and turn those spirit boxes down. There's quite a bit of history here that your tour guides around town won't normally talk about. I'm going to. So this is home to Eliza and Charles Pinckney. So who the heck were they? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Charleses if you were counting. The son and the nephew were signers of our Constitution. So that's a pretty big deal. The son was obviously raised here. I hate politics. We just got out of an election year. Let's move on. So there's a lot more that goes on here. So one of the Charleses wants to come through, great, but we're going to focus on Eliza. Eliza was the mother of obviously the signer of the Constitution, and she married her husband at a very young age. And again, this is a place where I'm not going to give you questions. This isn't what color is George Washington's white horse kind of mentality, or what color is the red barn. This is stuff that you guys are going to find out through your spirit boxes. I'm not giving you answers till after we're done here, so that way you don't have suggestive thoughts. Again, you're kind of advancing. So, how old she was when she got married, that's a great question, that you can probably start off with, but let's go through the rest of her history. She married him at a young age because Dad thought he was dying over in England. He wanted all his kids home. She didn't want to go. So she got married and she stayed put. It didn't give her citizenship. We're talking the mid-1700s. So there's no such thing as citizenship just yet. So pretty much said, I'm not going anywhere, Dad. Better get better. And he did. She was right. He wasn't dying. So he starts sending over wedding gifts from England. Well, Eliza loved botany, which means she worked with plants a lot. She loved to experiment with them. Dad sent her over some indigo to experiment with. The cool thing about indigo is we still use it today. It makes our blue jeans blue. That's what it does. It makes blue dye. Now, Eliza and Charles had slaves that knew how to cultivate this indigo in our very weird temperatures, because it does get chilly like it is tonight, right? So these slaves of hers came from the Gullah culture, straight from Africa, and they were farmers basically, and they taught her how to keep this crop going. Once she made it big enough, she moved it to a plantation in Mount Pleasant, which is about 20 minutes from here, and then she started selling the indigo overseas through her dad's connections. Now, if you think of the term royal blue, that's where it comes from. All the royals wore blue because of indigo. Think of the British petticoats, they're all blue. Think of the Civil War. Our Confederate soldiers, they had gray. That's just less indigo than the Union soldiers. So that's how you can tell who, was the gray versus the blue. So indigo was pretty expensive stuff. And it also saved us from our rice plantations that were going downhill. So Eliza not only saved Charleston in South Carolina, but all 13 colonies. We're talking about a businesswoman in the mid-1700s. No such thing as a businesswoman in colonial times. So very big deal. Not to mention it's Women's History Month, so I like to pride myself on this location. We get a lot of activity here. So a couple of weird facts about Eliza. So Spirit Box teams, listen up, these are your questions. Ask anything you want to about Eliza's death, how old she was, where did she die, what did she die from, where is she buried, and which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So that's a very interesting question. That shows you how important she was, that if you don't know what a pallbearer is, I know there's some teenagers here, it's basically the person that carries the coffin to the grave. It's an honor to do so. So, on both ends, really. So, let's see, what else can you ask? You can ask what happened to the mansion. It's not here, obviously. The mansion stood in the front with the carriage house over to the right, and then Eliza's garden was kind of where those vehicles are over there and came all the way across, and we're standing where the slave and servant quarters would have been. That kind of gives you the layout of the land. If you're going to ask questions directly to the slaves and servants, I can't prove them. There's no record. There's a few names here and there, but that's about it. Let's see, what else can you ask? You can ask how many children Eliza and Charles ended up having. If you want to talk to Charles, you can ask what political party he belonged to, what month he was born, when did he die, where is he buried, you know, those kind of questions. It just depends on whatever you want to ask. So, this is another location where you guys are going to kind of spread out. We're going to keep the lasers off the vehicles, definitely below the walls. Take as many pictures as you like, of course. And spirit boxes definitely can be loud and proud in here. So if you need to turn it up to listen to it, turn it up. I'll tell you if you're way too loud and disrupting people coming through. And Dad, I will tell you, some people get a little weird about a video camera on their vehicles. So if somebody's coming by, going to their car so they can leave, you're at that point, you're just kind of holding a cell phone. We don't want to disturb anybody. They don't know what type of camera that is. We don't need to get into any. Trust me, I've been screamed at before for it. So I just like to give that heated warning. All right. Questions, comments, concerns about this place? There's a lot here. This is the video that I showed you. All of my EVPs that I normally get that are either disembodied or a very direct message come from here. This is my grand finale if I were to have one. So we're going to spend a good 10 to 15 minutes in here. So again, this isn't your typical tour, as I told you guys before. So have you gotten any words on your spirit box along the way since I've been telling this story?
Straight in effect.
Straight in effect. Another one of those where they're too general for me. So let's get them things out loud and proud, and let's see if we can capture it here. I'm going to bounce around with all of you. And this is also where I get to take a break from the math for about 5 minutes or so. So
Okay,
I'm
look
going to let
at
you guys
show
go
how
and get
much
started,
light
and
you
then I'll start
got.
following up. Fair?
Show Mr. Nix how much
Grant,
extra.
skedaddle. Find some ghosts.
Joey, come on.
Joey.
Yeah.
Let's go find the ghosts.
He's
So,
got a lot, doesn't
you
he?
do. And that's the reason why I come here. So just so you guys know, they've never done a dig here. So what that means for you is that there's no electrical lines underneath this parking lot at all. Nothing should be making that thing go off.
Oh, interesting. So you're definitely picking up some ghost activity
Right.
right now.
There's a lot of ghost activity here. Now whether or not they want to talk to us tonight, it's a whole different story. So kind of see what comes out of the spirit boxes. Should be helping out Big Brother. So making sure he's in the right spots. So whenever you get like good red spots out of that, that's usually a good sign. Now, again, I told you, it's not always going to be acting, so this is exciting stuff for me. Always
It means you found something.
yeah, it's not TV. So, it means you actually got something going on there. And you don't have to hold it upside down.
Yeah, this is appropriate.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I mean, you're going to...
You just don't see a lot, that's all.
You don't.
Okay.
And again, you probably won't even see anything in real time until I review it.
Okay. All right. It seemed like the image was barely showing up.
So
but you're blowing
what
it
I
up
do with that is, I go up on my computer and I start going through them one by one. If I see anything that's kind of out of place, then I lighten it. So
You found
that's
something?
what it is.
In the corner, when I asked what her favorite flower was, and I was like, oh, going over there, and I heard something on the radio that said, get out of here.
Really? So do you want to know what the EVP was that I caught from here last week? Please leave us alone.
No way.
Which is odd because normally I'll get a hello Nick, I'll get a salutation of some type. So normally it's very welcoming in here. But the fact that you got that is almost kind of confirming that they want me to stop bringing people here.
How did you die? How did you die? He doesn't want to talk to him. What political party was your son? Water. That's what I get. How did you die? When did you die? I don't know if it was just me, but I think I heard the word fire in the song or something. Where did you die? Where did you die? How old were you when you died? How old were you when you passed away? I'm not getting anything.
29.
29.
2019. I was. Oh! She said 2019, but. What happened to the mansion? What happened to the mansion?
Where's the hunters? I hear.
What?
I hear like where's the hunters?
What happened to the? What happened to the mansion? What happened to the mansion? What happened to the mansion?
Yeah, I saw a bunch of them today. You guys see so much going on here. This is actually such a great.
Where did you die?
Do you feel any
So what are you hearing on here?
Really just staying, like, I'm not hearing much. I asked, like, how old was she when she died, I think. And I think I got the answer 2019. Which, yeah, I have no idea what I'm getting.
Yeah, you can't even add those numbers up and get the right number.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're doing the right thing. Just ask the question. Wait and listen.
Stay next to him.
Yep. Again, because he's recording the audio piece of what you might be missing.
Alright.
So when I kind of review the video and I'll hear the static, I'll stop and listen and see if I hear anything. So if you miss something, I mean, it's not the easiest job in the world. You know, the spirit boxes are especially if you're not used to listening to it like I am every single morning. So when I go through it, I'll see if I capture anything from your spirit box. But their recording is very direct, it's much louder. So I'll definitely have to focus on what the video is showing us. So try to stay as close as possible. So what about you, Dad? You find anything weird?
No, not at all.
And again, that's not the most exciting tool either, but when we do capture something with it, you saw what it looks like.
Oh, I told you when I saw your video, say, "Oh, give me the
Yeah.
kind of."
So again, when it's there, it's there. But yeah, that's an amazing tool. I was so glad when I was able to finally get my hands on one because they were sold out of those cameras for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's an actual tool for firemen, mechanics. So I mean, it's high in demand. So I wanted.
Oh, because that guy is kind of the heat, right? And
Yeah, they're looking for hot spots where I'm looking for cold spots. You know, and there's apps that claim to do that. None of them are like I've tested dozens of them. Like they're all. So I wanted the real deal. So you know, and I tried it on a tablet. It doesn't really work well on a tablet, so I stuck with the phone. It's easier to hold. It makes a cleaner video. But it's an amazing tool.
But that's when.
But and it's a FLIR. So I mean,
Where
it's a brand.
did you die?
You know, it's an amazing gadget when you catch something with it. And again, the thermometers I have kind of tell us what the ambient temperature is versus surface temperature. So normally I have like a group next to person, you would be paired up with them with the different thermometers to kind of verify what you're seeing versus what they're catching with the different types of thermometers. So in the event you capture something, like you think you saw shadow somewhere or something cold comes up on your screen, I'm going to rush up there with the thermometer and try to debunk what's going on. And let me see who's catching on his word list.
What happened to the mansion?
Okay, let's go together, Chavi. Maybe we can find. We can find something.
I always find things by myself.
I will follow you, okay?
No, it's okay. I don't.
Honey, it's because when you are flashing right there, yes, probably with a cell phone, the camera can catch something. You know what I mean? Are you okay, honey?
I find something. I found something.
How did you die?
Feels great, honey. He's coming, please.
How did you die? How did you die? How did you die?
Here, I want to see if that thing has a lot of activity over here.
How did you die? How did you die?
She just got over here. She got grazed, and what was the other one? You don't want to die. You don't want to die.
Well, obviously.
No.
Well, no, but that's what she got from her feed box.
Oh.
Free all. Did you hear that? Yeah.
Wait, what
Oh,
did you...
especially with this being a carriage house. Since what? This was a carriage house for slaves.
Yeah, and it said free all.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Where did he go?
We went to the corner. Oh, wait. How did you die?
Sound like an Italian attorney killer. We got something over here.
Figured you guys are all huddled together.
It said free all.
How
Right
did
there.
you die?
Look at that. And I'll have to find out if she actually did free them all. That would actually be really cool.
Oh, did you
Something
hear
I learn
that?
every week.
The scientist. Yeah, I did see her, the scientist. I was like, wait a minute, is that
But she was a scientist. She was a botanist.
Oh. Good job, man. Did you die before I came through?
What was that?
I don't...
Got him on fire when he asked kind of what happened to the man. So was that
Yep.
what happened?
That's exactly what happened. You got
Did
a
she
direct answer.
choke?
No.
And I got wood was my next one.
Wood was the house made
What was
out
the
of
question you asked?
I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, it just kind of showed up. I wasn't really asking anything at that moment. Can we switch?
Did anybody ask
Are you okay, Jake? Come on.
was the pallbearer?
I did. I haven't. What president was
Well, it's not always going to be like,
Well, I
like
have
what
an
he
answer,
got
but
fired.
I'm trying to
Maybe
think,
wooden
like,
teeth, perhaps?
Alright, so let's give you guys some
president-
answers.
well,
on
maybe-
pallbearer
I mean,
relevant.
Washington wouldn't have. Where's the tool? I mean, Washington wouldn't have. Okay. I mean, he didn't have to have.
No, but it's a rumor.
But
And we got the word wooden here last night as well. So what do you
it
think?
wouldn't make sense. I mean, it wouldn't make sense though, because it was
So
probably
was George
much more
Washington
popular
the
than that.
pallbearer? Was he the pallbearer?
Was.
Washington?
And that's the EVP that I got that I learned who it was. George Washington. On the
Which president was the pallbearer?
So and that was a fact that I didn't know. And we're gonna take wood because Wooden came up here last night too. Not there, but on another spirit box.
Which
And that's the only president in
was the pallbearer?
Yep.
Very trees.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Because I've never really had that come up. It came up that way last night. We're all trying to remember which president was affiliated with Wood because my daughter, she was with me. and
How
she said,
did you die?
didn't one of them have wooden trees allegedly?
How did you die?
Together so we can give you guys an answer to all of these crazy questions. And she already has some of them. Like, I love the fact that fire came up. I'm excited about wood coming up. So,
I think I was asking one of those questions generally.
Yep.
So I was asking that, and I was also, yes. Yeah, I was, because I was also asking how did she die as well.
so also keep in mind too, guys. Hey, ladies, I'm going to give the answers. Are you guys ready? So, when you guys are asking questions, keep in mind there are 5 pieces of ways to communicate back to us. So you can ask a question like what happened to the mansion, and the word fire can be heard on his audio, my audio, or any of the 3 spirit boxes that are out.
Oh.
So a lot of times what I'll do to prove that fact is, if I'm using a spirit box, because we have a smaller group, I'll turn around and say, how many people did I bring with me? And somebody will turn around and say, I heard the number 5. I'm like, well, there's 5 of you. And I asked how many people did I bring with me? That's a very specific number. That excludes me, right? Because I made it a math equation. So that's why I do things like that. So kind of keep that in mind too.
Oh, okay.
I'm very excited about fire in wood, because wood does definitely relate to Washington. So, do we have George Washington as an EVP? I don't know that yet. But you did get a direct answer of what happened to the mansion, which is awesome. And it's not always going to be immediate. We might get some of the answers to your questions later. So they need time. Sometimes they'll follow us. We never know. We can't see them. Chilling with us.
Right.
Dad might be able to see them, but we never know.
Can she share what she got that was kind of weird over here? I
Yes.
thought that was interesting.
I was going to go around the table.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry. I thought we were moving on.
Nope.
I was like,
I
wait,
like
the
that
kids
she's
don't wanna hear
progressing it. She
that.
should. Go ahead, Emily. What'd you guys get?
So over there, I asked like what her favorite flower was, and it said purple. And then when I got closer to the corner, it said get out of here. And then over here, over here I got something that said like peace. I was like, what do you want? And then over here it said something about, what did it say about the grave?
You found a grave?
Something about a grave over there.
Okay.
And then over here it said free all.
So we're standing in the slave quarters.
Yeah.
Right? So that would make sense. I'll have to find out if the Pinckneys did
Didn't
free
you
their
get a
slaves.
warning about death or something?
Oh yeah, there's a death warrant. It said something about death, but
You don't want to die.
You don't want to die.
You don't want to
We
die.
were standing like right there. That's where all of us, we were all standing.
Okay. Very interesting. So here's what I'm going to tell you. See that sign that's fallen over there? I want to say about 3 weeks ago, I brought one of my tours over here, and that sign immediately fell. These signs are held up by zip ties. So we had kind of examined it after the tour, because it was my last tour of the night. The zip tie looked like it was cut. Like it didn't break. It looked like it was cut in the middle of it. So again, that's just weird that you were getting activity over there about a grave.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if somebody actually might be buried there. Somebody may have buried their pet there. I have no idea. And I'll probably never know. Because that's not something I can dig up and say, hey, was Fido buried here?
You can just dive into
Right, I
it.
can't dive into that.
Everybody grab a shovel.
So here's the answers to the questions. You guys have some of them already, so you guys know the mansion caught fire.
Wait. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later.
So Eliza was 22 when she got married, and Charles was 45. So the numbers 22, 45, and 23 would make sense. Why? Because there was 23 years between them. Okay, so again, that makes sense too. Let's see, what else did I have you guys say? Eliza died at the age of 70 in 1793 from breast cancer. Think about that for a minute. Breast cancer, we didn't even know what it was yet. We're going off her medical records. So every article that's sound tells us it's breast cancer. She was in Philadelphia when she died, which is also where she's buried. And it was George Washington that was the pallbearer at her funeral. Eliza had 4 children, 3 sons and 1 daughter. The reason why really the only thing I give you about that is because when we started poking around with the kids, there was a tragedy there. George did not make it past infancy. So normally when we start poking around with that, all activity will stop. So I don't like for you guys to be able to do that and, you know, at least have a suggestive thought of doing that. So that way your activity continues. You got a lot of interesting things. So I'm definitely gonna be diving into yours, and your list is top notch. Like I'm really excited about that.
If anyone is down to switch.
Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. Keep your tools within your party. That's why I kind of give you guys various tools, even when it's just a group of 2. So if you guys want to switch up, and I told you to kind of help her out with that, you know, but you guys, mix them up. Don't care. Just, it's COVID reasons, keep it within your own family.
Oh,
Fair enough?
I gotcha. Perfect.
So, you know, obviously I don't want these 2 mixing with you guys. So that's just kind of how that's going to roll, because I will have to
You wanna
re-sanitize
take
everything.
pictures?
Again, for a 4th time today. So, we are going to walk up about 4 blocks to our next location. It's up East Bay Street. It is Lodge Alley. So, Spirit Box folks, I'm looking for names. I'm not going to tell you why or which names until we get there. Absolutely no lasers on East Bay. There's a lot of vehicles. She's like, yep, put them in a pocket. Resist temptation. Dad, keep filming. Your EMF, buddy, is going to go off because of the parking meters. You can pretty much ignore it until we get to the location of where we are. So you can just
Leave it on, but
you can leave it on if you want, but it's because of the parking meters. Mom, when we get there, I'm going to need you to take some pictures down the alley before we all walk in to see if we catch any light anomalies. Now, if you do take pictures with it, like just touristy type pictures, that's perfectly fine. Just remember that try to be as still as possible. The reason why a flash is on a
Chavi, leave it
camera
right there, honey.
is because pictures will turn out blurry without it. So try to be as still as you can when you're taking those pictures.
Okay.
And again, take as many as you want. Don't care.
Perfect.
You're going to get them back, and then I erase the SD card. Because it all goes to my website.
Okay, well, I have a lot of pictures.
Yep. I've had as many as almost 600. Some girl just went trigger happy with it. And just taking pictures all night
That's what
long.
I've been doing.
And she actually caught quite a bit of evidence that night, so it was really cool. The more the better.
She's
All right.
probably like a professional people.
Did you guys catch something else that you guys were kind of chuckling about before
Here,
we
I'll
move on?
take it.
Oh no, it's
I'll
just
take it.
the word
Here,
house
give it to
came
Mom.
up and I was just out of the blue, so I was there.
I'm telling you, I think Eliza's pissed at me. You know, to be honest with you, so she might be
Oh,
calling
like-
me out.
Called you an ass.
So yeah, she's calling me an ass. Which is,
No, I just thought it was funny because like it was nothing related at all to what you had been saying, and so I was like, is it possible this is related to anything?
but is it
Like,
related to another word? So look at the list and look like 2 to 3 words up above it. See if any of those match, and below it. You might actually.
On two.
Nothing. Nothing. All right, let's do this. Dad's cold. He needs to move.
Maybe they had a donkey in the stable.
Yeah, exactly. And probably step right there and kick it and well, kick right there in the head and this dead.
I'm gonna just go with the idea that she's full since he's falling from the ass. Like you bring me up there. No, that was actually so. Man, that actually was so weird. Now that I
They're them cold.
scientists specifically about that. I know it was so weird when we walked over here because Landon caught like a second of a song, and it was that song that we had like from Coldplay.
What?
But the song it was specifically from Coldplay was The Scientist. And he's saying that right here was her garden, and that she was a botanist. The botanist is a scientist regarding plants. So we were like, oh crap, that's actually kind of interesting. Like that specific song came up.
When that word came up, hey, you never know. Maybe this girl's pretty hot.
Here, we're saying it. No, mine was super creepy because I had asked what happened to your mansion, and then like a minute later, right before mom shows up, fire came up.
Oh yeah.
And like he's saying that's exactly how the mansion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he said it burned down. I was like, oh sweet, that's pretty dope. Oh yeah, and then I was asking which president was her palebearer a few times, and Wood came up. So Washington, Wood and Peace, quote unquote. I think it's kind of cool though. Like,
Yeah. Oh, that tree looks nice right there.
imagine you can get some paranormal activity from there.
All right.
Who looks like that? It looks like that tree from Harry Potter.
Oh, the people are ready. Keep going. We got 13 seconds. Come on.
But yeah, no, this is pretty cool. So the beats hearing depressing stories for an hour and a half. But I think me and Lad would still have fun doing it. And names. We got the Bears, we got the Blackhawks, and they got the Cubs. Ah, that makes sense. They're all joking.
I have the phone.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Wait, what?
So that pub or whatever we just passed, it was a Chicago pub.
Yeah.
It had the Bears, Cubs, and the Blackhawks logo. I've had the word joke for a few minutes though, and I was like, that makes sense. They're all jokes of franchises. Obviously, the Cubs have a lot of names. Have one title. Yeah, this one's Chicago.
Alright, like 35.
This doesn't weird you out or anything, right?
Huh?
This doesn't weird you out or anything, right?
What do you mean?
Like, freak you out or anything?
Yeah, this does weird me
I forget,
out.
I forget, because like, you have like the thickest jacket now, and you're always the one who seems to be the warmest. So I forget that you're actually cold.
Oh, there's magnolias.
I'm gonna have you take pictures right over here. I'll tell you why.
Next up, Nocturne.
Can I pose in front so it can be like a family photo?
Oh yeah, this thing started spiking as soon as we walked in here.
Really?
Yeah, I mean look, it was super quiet before. I had like nothing.
So wait, this place has regarding teams? Okay. Next thing you know, it's just like, who am I talking to? Don't! Why, you little...
Oh, it's kind of fancy places right here.
Alright, so guys, this is considered a quiet area, so we're going to be very brief here, and spirit boxes are going to be off, or turned down in volume at least. So this is Lodge Alley. When we cross that last street, we are now inside the original Charlestown walls. So this would have been one of the original streets we had here in Charleston, but it was Charlestown back then. So everybody kind of picture the peninsula of Charleston in your head. All the stuff on the edges is all man-made stuff. So all those buildings and all that stuff down there wouldn't have been there, just the wall. The smell of low tide would be coming through here constantly. The people that lived here, because there were houses, these two buildings weren't here, they were considered lower class. You can imagine having low tide smell all the time. No high-class person is going to put up with that. So, with that being said, they did do some of the archaeological digs in between. They found some of the tools and silverware, clothing, found evidence of fires, all kinds of things. We have tons of fires, by the way, in Charleston. Throughout our history, we have the Great Fire of whatever year it happened. There's dozens. There's that many. The reason why I asked you guys to listen for names, which by the way, did we hear any? I know you and I were chatting. Did you guys hear any names or anything come up on your box?
No, I haven't had really.
Nothing on names? Nothing on yours either?
I wasn't listening.
I mean, I've had terms, but not like.
Yeah. Names I'm looking for because I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived here. It's not a long list. The names that normally come up are Benjamin and John. And the funny thing about that is there's 4 different Johns that lived here in a 100-year span. But Benjamin and John together were 2 out of the 5 people that lived here in 1801. Now last night, my 2 spirit box people, actually that would be you 2, they both heard the name Johnson. And I was like, I'll have to look that up. Turns out that the John I'm talking about, his last name is Johnson. They both heard it. So it was really cool stuff. The name Benjamin also came up on my second tour. So again, I can't make this stuff up. It is what it is. So it happens at least once a month with Benjamin and John. The Masons also used to meet down here. The word Mason showed up on the spirit box version last night. So Masons, bricklayers, all of that, kind of secret society stuff, like that happened right here. So I had to show you guys some cobblestone. You guys are all visitors. So these bricks are handmade, hand laid, and none of them are evenly spaced either. So I told you that this was a quiet area. We're about to go through a neighborhood. So spirit boxes are definitely off, definitely no lasers. It's a neighborhood. Tour guides are not allowed to be tour guides in neighborhoods. So we're going to be passing by as 8 friends, ghost hunting, very quietly until we get to our next location. So, any questions about this location? We don't spend a lot of time here.
Were any of these people Irish?
I don't know. Why?
Brought over the Irish place, remember?
Do you have something related to Irish?
Well, they're Irish.
That is relatable later. You will learn why. That's exciting. We're still pretty close to that spot. Very awesome. I'm very excited about that.
Because like one of the buildings on
So I got depending on after you said that. So it's like, oh, it's depending on the situation.
Well, the first thing I'm going to be talking about is Irish American. So it
Alcohol.
depends.
So you literally mentioned alcohol like 2 minutes ago.
So, let's take a hike. Let's go learn some more stories.
You're getting some fun words.
I know, man.
Irish is definitely exciting. Like, your list is going to be good.
No, we were joking. I do watch we passed by that one house. Chicago today with the Bears. I was like, wow, that makes sense. There's all jokes of a franchise. Or joke of franchises. And so then it's like, hey, imagine if we passed by like a tavern somewhere where the word alcohol is.
No, we passed it and it said vodka.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Vodka would make sense too. Okay, Irish.
Yeah. Well, he got the word alcohol right after that.
You did? Yeah, literally, I was straight up says alcohol. Wait, Dad, are you even with me?
He's watching, yes.
So, yeah, another story.
Yeah, nine. Yeah.
Prove it.
I'm proud of you, buddy. Me hubiese gustado venir contigo a uno de esos restaurantes.
Huh?
Me hubiese gustado venir contigo a uno de esos restaurantes.
Oh, sí, we should have brought it, ¿no?
No estar buscando estas pendejadas. No estar buscando estas pendejadas. ¿Mande?
Hey, it's a church. The church seats have tickets. Oh, yeah. What is this number on the...
Alright, this is where you guys get to chill and have a seat for a few minutes. So this is a very popular area. You guys are going to see a lot of tours cutting through in between us. It's just easier when we're sitting down. This is a kind of like the legends and lore part of your tour. So a lot of stories here in this corner. And then we're going to do one final investigation. What is going on down there?
Irish. No, Scottish.
So you guys are going to have Irish on your audio of the bagpipes being played. So take that.
Oh, yeah, that's
Very interesting.
That's pretty cool. I'm sorry.
So you can see a lot of tours around, and also keep in mind the size of those tours. And hopefully you're appreciative. All right, so did you guys see the gorgeous alley that we passed up, where that one big group went down? That's Philadelphia Alley. Now, technically tours aren't allowed down there anymore because of me. We won't get into it. But what I do like to point out, if you turn around and see the wall behind you, like off in the distance, there's a doorway right there. Nobody ever talks about that doorway, kind of like the Pinckney Mansion site. So that used to be Dueler's Alley. So duels would occur there. So take 20 paces, turn and shoot, kind of duels. Okay, so the loser, if there was one, because most times in a duel, the gunshots were shot in the air or into the ground. It was just there to prove a point. The loser would come through that gate, over the courtyard, and over to St. Philip's Cemetery. They would drop the body and then go celebrate the winner. So nobody ever talks about that doorway. It is original. It is named Philadelphia Alley now because when dueling became illegal and stupid, they had to rename it after a city that saved us after one of our dozens of fires that I told you all about. So we're gonna let this group pass through. The hot hands are getting colder. Oh, you're good, you're good. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. You got stragglers. Oh, you're good, you're good. So, none of them had devices. The only one. But anyway, so let's talk about like what she's talking about up there. It's just a quick little legend. There's a that's a cemetery up there. There's two sides of the cemetery. I'll explain why in a minute. But she's talking about a sign that's right inside the cemetery. And the sign says there's no ghost at St. Philip's besides the Holy Ghost. There's a reason for that. Because in 1888, a young lady died 6 days after her stillborn child. Her name was Sue Howard Hardy.
You just had the word girl and died.
That's interesting.
They said girl.
And then died right after it.
Very cool. Well, not cool, but you guys get it. So
Interesting.
that was 1888. 1987, we have a local photographer. He's taking pictures of all the cemeteries, and he captures a full apparition of a woman wearing a shawl and a baby basket next to her. So, with that being said, it's 1987. There's no cell phones, there's no Photoshop, that kind of thing. So he sends it to Kodak to try to debunk the picture. They can't do it either. So the picture's cursed, or else I'd show it to you. All these other tour guys like to show it off. Females that hold it, you're not going to feel well. You're going to get a headache, a little nauseous, that kind of thing. If you're pregnant, you're not going to have a good pregnancy. I'm not cursing my tours. So if you guys want to look it up, you have her name. Her name is Sue Howard Hardy. And look it up on your own time. Just don't hold the picture. Don't handle it. That's the superstition. So there is the two sides of the different cemeteries. There's a reason for that too. So this side is for native Charlestonians only. The other side is for everybody else. So John Calhoun, our vice president, he was buried over here, and then they moved him back and forth until they figured out if he was actually from here.
Oh my gosh.
He's
you're
now on the other
that
side.
particular about it.
Yes.
Wait, what?
They exhumed him and then brought him over
Well,
there.
not necessarily.
Well,
He's in a sarcophagus,
oh.
which means he's in a cement tomb above ground, so they could just pick him up and move him. Probably takes about 8 to 12 men to be able to lift it up.
They couldn't decide if he was a native of Charleston or not, and so they just kept moving him back
Just
and
kept
forth.
moving him. So,
Look at the little black guy.
Yeah.
Thank
No,
on the other
here's,
side.
this is the section where it's undecided. Right in
So-
the middle.
this is now Church Street. It used to be called Dock Street, and it is home to Dock Street Theater. And the reason why it's called Church Street is because the big steeple that you see, this is the only building that couldn't move when they widened the road. So they just went around it. So if you look at it on Google Maps, it's literally a half moon right around the church. So these are just weird little fun facts in case something pops up on your spirit boxes. So, one last little tidbit about, oh, by the way, the church is not perfectly upright. I told you guys about the big earthquake. It is off slightly. You can't see it, but when you measure it, it is slightly off. It's a very weird, interesting fact. So if we get the word lean somewhere in your spirit box, that makes sense too. But there is Dock Street Theater has a tie to St. Philip's Church. So there was a young lady that she worked at the church because she was too old. Nobody wanted to marry her at the age of 23. Yeah, marrying age back then was 17. So she's seen some of the. I know, right? She was an old maid. Nobody wanted her. She's seen the. We'll just say the Girls of the Night. We have some younger crowd here. Girls of the Night going on down there at Planters Hotel, which is now Dock Street Theater, and she went down there to go get a job. She was the best loved girl in the whole place, but she still wasn't happy. So what she did was she used to go out to the second-story balcony, and she would look back at the church and wanting to come back. And the priest sees her out there one night, so he goes down there to convince her to come back to the church. And a storm rolls in. Lightning strikes the wrought iron banister that she's leaned on. Kills her. So,
Kills him or kills her?
kills her. Oh, you're good. Come on through. So, what happens with her is, I know that story is very abrupt because, yeah, she died, right? But The interesting thing is when you can see her ghost, it is in color, in her red dress. And you can only see her from the knees up. Why? It's because we renovated Duxbury Theater. We raised the first floor ceiling when we did that. So on the second floor, she's walking on the floor that she knows. Does that make sense? Why you can only see her from the knees up? It took a nerd like me to figure out the history of the building to be able to find out what actually happened. So, you guys ready to go learn about some pirates and hopefully investigate a couple of things? Everybody's like, oh yeah, let's do some pirates.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go across the street. She's taking up a lot of time up there at the church, and it's just a sign in an old cemetery, which you guys can gladly see on any other tour. So why don't you think I take people to cemeteries? This is called Stories in a Cemetery.
It's not like a real. I mean, it's ghosts, but they're not like. It's like a stereotypical.
Very stereotypical. But I want you to think about if you're dead, where are you gonna be? In the place that you left. If you're stuck here, right?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because you said Eliza was buried in Philadelphia,
Correct.
and yet we were.
And that's usually when I bring up this point, and it usually makes sense and clicks with people then, but I didn't bring it up tonight, I'm sorry. So I was like, let me bring that up now. So, have I been through cemeteries that are haunted? Very, very few. Do I investigate them still? Sure do. There's a lot of history there. I want to learn. I want to see like what those gravestones look like. I have a history of gravestones at home that I like to dive into. But there's very few cemeteries that are actually haunted. If you want to actually go to one here in Charleston, Magnolia Cemetery is chock full of spirit activity. So, and just like I was telling the boys, when you guys get your data back tomorrow morning, at the top of your page, all of the tools and apps and stuff that I use are all listed there. The apps are all free versions. You're using paid versions tonight because I use several different types, even on my own phone. But there's some very interesting things. But if you guys are Christmas presents or anything like that, like it's all there. So if you have questions. And I got more stuff coming. Like my wife ordered it for me this morning and didn't tell me. So it's kind of like, all right. She's like, you've been talking about this one device. I just ordered it. All right, we'll see how it goes on the tour. Let's go learn about some pirates. You guys look like you're getting sleepy sitting down.
Ready?
There's one walking right there.
So anyway, what did you say? Something about like a girl in like a what? Like a shirt or something like that?
No, she had a shawl. Where?
This shawl.
Shawl
It's like the thing that you put on your head though.
kind of,
around
but it
your
was just
shoulder.
around her
around the
shoulders.
shoulder.
Oh, okay. Because he got the word.
I had shirt come up a little bit ago, and I also had hail come up while we were walking.
Hail came up last night, but I don't think that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, I had this at email, and I was like, but he came up way over there, so I
Also,
wasn't.
guy when he got bitten, is the guy like that they kept bringing back the
I don't know. But that's a very good question. It may very well may have been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it was the same one, he probably
Well, with him, probably would have been revolutionary.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're back.
That.
Take care of it, take care of it.
Extra tails. And that's all stuff that you can look up. You can just look up Duxbury Theater and ghosts and that kind of stuff will show up. But we're going to be kind of diving into this powder magazine, which is the little tiny building over there. It looks like it has crosses on it. Those aren't crosses. Those are earthquake bolts. Earthquake bolts, just behind those, is that if we have another earthquake, you can tighten up those bolts that are in between the floors and the roofs of these buildings, and it will just straighten the building right back up.
Do you guys have a lot of earthquakes?
No.
It's the only
They
one,
said
that's
there-
what they...
Yeah, they said on the tour there was only one.
We
Yeah,
only
because
had one.
there was a house that crashed into the other house, and
Yeah,
it just
it was a
seems
big
like-
one. It was a 7.3 on the Richter.
Wow.
It's
So
only-
that's where they, I guess, in an abundance of caution, they
Yep.
started doing that.
Exactly, and even the building behind it, that big apartment building behind it, it actually has earthquake bolts on it too. You just can't see them from here because they kind of blend in. You'll see them once we get closer. But the crosses that you see, those were the very first earthquake bolts that we put in. So, and by the way, they are all turned around taking pictures of St. Philip. So as you guys explore, if you guys want to turn around and take pictures, it's a beautiful spot. So I don't care if you guys do touristy stuff, you're visiting. I see this stuff every day. So, the Powder Magazine, very interesting place. Quick history. I told you guys that we are inside the Charlestown walls. that wall came right up through Cumberland Street. That street didn't exist. It was a wall. So it stopped about half a block past the building with the crosses on it. So literally the powder magazine was in the corner of where the two walls met, because it wanted to be furthest away from the water and still within the city limits. Reason for it, it held gunpowder. If it gets attacked by a ship, a cannonball hits it. It has 32-inch thick walls, all in a grain vaulted ceiling inside. It's gorgeous. And then the roof that you see is filled with sand. So in the event it gets attacked, it'll blow the sand up and then fall down to drown out the fire of the gunpowder. Doesn't necessarily work. I learned just the other day we had another powder magazine towards the battery, and that exact same thing happened. It did get attacked because it's much closer to the water, and that sand did not drown out the fire and destroy the whole building. So the sand, this is our oldest government building on the East Coast, by the way. So 1713 is when it was finished, and mind you, I said government building, not the oldest building we have, just government building. So the sand in there is from 1712. That kind of gives you the gist of how old that sand is still there. We had to repair the roof in the 1990s and seeing that it was still there. So during the time,
gunpowder is gone, right?
yeah, it's just a museum now.
Okay.
So it did serve in 7 different wars, not from start to finish. They moved gunpowder a lot to try to hide it, but it did help serve in 7 different smaller wars. Now, during the time period that this building was being built, this is the tie to the pirate story that I have for you that came from an Irish-American female pirate. So there was a young lady that moved here from Ireland with her dad. She was the illegitimate child of her father's mistress, the maid. So to get away from his wife, he picked up his mistress and his daughter, and he moves to America and comes to Charleston. Right? Crazy. This wife was nuts. Like, she was out to kill kind of thing.
I would be too.
Yeah. Now,
You have been warned.
they come here to Charleston. As this building's being built, obviously sees it being finished. She becomes a teenager. We have pirates coming through town. She falls in love with one of the pirates. And her mom, the mistress, is now dead. So it's just her and her dad. Dad does not approve of this pirate. His name was James Bonney. She runs away with him to Jamaica. They get married. However, James Bonney did not turn out to be the pirate she wanted him to be. He becomes a privateer, which basically means he's a spy for the British. So he's spying on his own men to report back. Well, Anne Bonny, she wanted a kick-ass pirate. Like, she wanted to be married to Johnny Depp, basically, right? So what happens is she falls in love with another pirate. His name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. So they call him Calico Jack because of the very dapper clothing that he wore. So, but anyway, Jack tries to buy the dowry back from the first husband and refuses. So Anne is still Anne Bonny through the entire affair with Calico Jack. Now, Calico Jack has a ship, and Anne Bonny wants to become part of it. He says, okay, you can be a female in my quarters, but you have to be a male on the crew. So that means she has to dress like a man to be part of the crew. Females on a pirate ship would curse the ship. So, obviously she could be a female in his quarters, which means she eventually became pregnant. What's Calico Jack do? He drops her off in Cuba to have the baby. He says, come back to the ship. Once the baby's born, we'll figure it out from there. She comes back to the ship, but she's dressed like a female. And there's no baby. We have no idea what happened to that baby. She left him, if the baby didn't make it. We don't know. She doesn't want to hide her gender. Now Jack's mad, so he starts ignoring her. During the time that she was gone for her pregnancy, Calico Jack captured another ship, and he had prisoners down below deck. She decides she's going to go down below deck and start flirting with these guys to make Calico Jack even more jealous. Turns out that the one particular fella she was flirting with was a female, dressed like a male, just like she was, to join Calico Jack's crew. The two become friends. Anne Bonny and Mary Read are the two that you can normally Google, and this is the story you'll hear. So she convinces Mary Read to become part of the crew, and they do. So they get attacked by the British. Now, here's what happened. All of the male pirates were down below deck, protecting the other prisoners, too drunk to come out and fight. So it was Anne Bonny and Mary Read trying to take on the British. Obviously, the ship got captured. All the pirates down below deck, including those that were captured, were tried and hung for piracy in Jamaica by Chief Justice Nicholas Laws. So, I'm giving you a lot of clues here for your spirit boxes. What happens with Anne and Mary is because they were the ones fighting back, they get tried a week later. Calico Jack's already dead, by the way. He was hung. First one, I'm sure. But the judge sees them, they reveal that they're female. He says, I don't care, I'm going to try and hang you anyway. Then they pled their bellies, which means they both claim that they were pregnant. So the judge says, okay, we're going to delay your hanging then. Well, Dad, here in Charleston, still has his Irish money, so he bails out Anne. And she comes back to Charleston. And from there, the only thing that we know is that she got remarried, had plenty of children, and lived to the ripe old age of 84. Mary Read died from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. Use your imagination. So there's a lot of holes in this story, which is why we're here. As far as the questions you guys are about to ask on your spirit boxes, it's completely up to you. I don't care what you ask. I'm actually curious to see what you're going to come up with. There's a lot of details in that story. Hopefully a lot of things that you can ask that might be relevant and things that I can prove. I've read plenty of books on Anne Bonny. This is a newer part of my tour. I've only been doing it for maybe 4 or 5 months now. So it's still, I'm learning more about this story, and I keep reading more, and none of them match up. So I want the real deal. That's why we're here. So
Wait, we can turn it up all the way?
you could turn it up pretty loud here. Keep in mind that these are apartments back here. Some people might have their windows open. We're very interested in video and camera lasers in the very front of the building. If you guys want to go up there, I'm perfectly fine with that. There's an exit of the parking lot straight ahead from us. But spirit boxes, ask your questions away. Now, Xavi, as far as your EMF, if you get anything, I'll be excited. This is what I call a dead zone. I don't normally get much here.
Get anything here, so if you see any of those lights,
Any of those lights move, I want to know.
Okay,
Last
even
night
if
we
it's
had a
just
pretty big
two.
spike, and then we got something that came through, and then it kind of died off again. We didn't see anything else from it. So it's not the Pinckney Mansion site for sure. So let's see what we can capture here. Where are we at on time? I don't normally watch time. We're at 8:30, but we can still spend a good 10-15 minutes here. Let's explore this place and see what we can capture.
Is this the last place?
This is the last place.
Okay.
We're going to wrap this up after it. I gave you all the answers. If you find something new, awesome. I'm going to dive into it further. So, you guys know all the answers. Ask the questions. See what you can capture.
And I was hoping
Oh,
this
yeah.
would be longer.
Quick question.
Yes,
Is it possible to watch this?
it is. Dude, like, you need to work with me.
It's good. It's good.
What did mishappen to the baby? What happened to the baby? What happened to the baby? What happened to Mary? You didn't get anything this whole time, did you?
I don't think so.
What happened to Mary? When did you die? Like, you already knew that, right? How long were you in Cuba? How long were you in Cuba?
Great question. Get the number 9, I won't be surprised.
Wait, what was the first pirate's name?
His name is James Bonny.
Jane Bonnet?
James Bonny.
Okay. Do we know what happened to him?
No,
Okay.
He's dead now.
I'm sure.
Oh, really?
So the ironic thing about me starting doing this location was November 28th, 2020 was the exact 300-year anniversary of Anne Bonny's trial.
Oh, really?
I had the word trial come up that night. I had the number 300.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, maybe. I actually didn't want to add this to my tour, but I'm not allowed to go down Philly Alley anymore. So
Oh, really?
I had to reroute things and come up with new
Wait, why
stories.
weren't you allowed?
It's a long story. I'm not supposed to be down there. Tours, it's a residential area, kind of like what I told you when we were cutting through somewhere. There's a couple of houses at the very end of it, and they're just not happy about the tours passing by their house all the time. So,
What
it's understandable.
happened to James Bonny?
Unfortunately, that is a gorgeous. Like, if you guys are here for the next couple days, it's the prettiest place we have. It's called.
So the Philadelphia Alley?
Yeah.
Okay.
So daytime, nighttime, it's a gorgeous picture spot. It's very quiet. It's very peaceful. Like, it's gorgeous. So feel free to take
So,
your family.
for
down.
example, by myself, I can walk through them?
You and the whole family
Okay.
can go down. Tour guide's not allowed.
Oh, tours. Oh. tour guys. Okay, okay.
So you guys want to walk down there? By all means, do so.
Mm-hmm.
They can't stop you because it is an open alley. It
It's
just
alley.
happens to end up in a residential area.
Mm-hmm.
But me
Man, I'm not
taking you
getting
through there,
anything.
not
It's
cool.
just kind of ticking me off. The only thing, the only thing I got was the scientist song.
Alright, you want to swap? You
No,
want to
no,
take pictures?
He wants the digital one. That's what he wants.
I want that one.
Ask good questions. Ask what happened to Mary. Just because he gave us answers doesn't mean we don't need to
Yep.
corroborate them. So what
Right.
happened to Mary?
What happened to Mary?
Antonio is addressing him formally when he has bad luck. See if that helps.
Yeah, I normally tell people, ask Mary, tell us how you died, Ann, tell us how you died, Eliza, tell us how you died. You know, give their first name first.
Oh.
How did Mary die?
I want to hear some Celia Cruz right now.
How long were you in Cuba?
Ask what happened to his baby.
And something.
What happened to your baby?
Come on, Chavi, let's go keep walking, honey.
Yeah, we're going to migrate to the front so we can kind of...
Oye,
What
estamos haciendo su trabajo, ¿no?
to your baby?
Oye,
Sí, pero sí me ofendé y todo. Pero sí, you know, la gente quiere hacer cosas así, you know, y él necesita la evidencia.
Sí, sí, sí.
You know, entonces, ¿por qué no debe de estar ganando?
puta, es que estamos pagando por hacer esta madre.
Pero no le vas a decir eso.
Oh, claro que no.
No, de mencionar que inicia la persona de negocios, you know, qué padre que puedes, no sé, no que hacer de una manera que no sea como estás aprovechando de la gente. Claro que no, es que no importa qué hace con esta cosa, está dando un servicio. Si le conviene, pues qué bueno. Whoa, where are we at? Whoa, you just have
You
to be
finish all of them?
just one more hour. These guys.
¿Y lo que dijo?
No, como.
So guys, the ladies' rides are here because their mom dropped them off.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to kind of call it a night since we
Yeah.
actually have quite a bit going on here. And he's getting very disappointed.
No.
I'm fine. I really like
I'm just
this.
giving you a hard time.
More clear.
But you guys actually did really well.
Thank
I'm
you.
super excited about the list.
Antonio,
Yeah, the list is
Toño.
really cool.
Let me get your camera stopped.
Oh, leave it right there, honey.
Did you give